Guess who's back? How you going, legends? Thanks for tuning in to the Thursday Sesh by Celtic Down Under. I'm your host, Jared. Joining me today are Dan, Jared, and Willie. How you going, Willie?
I'm doing all right. I'm on the rebound from a bit of COVID, so I sound a bit rough, and just bear with me.
How you going, Jared?
Terrible.
Handy. Lovely.
Work sucks. Celtic sucks.
There we go.
Yay.
And Dan, how you going, mate?
I was doing all right, but I feel like if I say I'm doing all right now, I'm just going to really stand out and go against the mood. Now, I haven't had COVID, but I have had the man flu, so I'm a little bit stuffy as well, but that's just having a kid that goes to daycare problems.
Fair enough. You're doing all that, and then I didn't have the pod on Monday night due to some issues with people crook and this on the screen. My boy, anyone who's listened in has heard Zeke in the background panting away, having a freak out whenever there's fireworks. Yeah, he passed away on the weekend, so it was a bit of a rubbish time for myself as well, so I wasn't really in it. So back tonight, RIP Zeke, best dog in the world. And we'll crack on with the pod tonight. So what I want to do, just because Jared's in such a loving mood and everything, he's just feeling all warm and fuzzy and in such a great mood, I'm going to throw to you, Jared.
Yeah.
Just give us your quick recap from the weekend's 1-1 draw against Killy.
Right. So I was really excited in that first half. I was actually having fun watching the game. I know, when we got in front of goal, we couldn't do anything with it. But just the fact that we were getting it in the box from multiple different angles and pressuring, I was like, oh my God, something's actually happening. I was actually getting excited. I'm like, all right, this is a start. We look like we want to play. Then we'd come back and between the centre backs for about 15 minutes, then attack again. And then the second half happened. And
And here we are.
I don't know about everyone else, but as soon as Bernabé came on,
Went down the gurgler.
I felt like we were about to lose.
Willie,
Just the way we were playing.
what was your little recap? You agree with what Jared's saying at all? And what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Jared. We were in the group chat. We were quite comfortable with the way things were going in the first half. We just kind of thought we need to kill this team off early in the second, and that would be it. Get another goal and the game would be over. But it didn't happen. And then on the 60th minute, Bernabé came on, and you just knew straight away this is not going to go end good. You could see Kevin Van Veen shaping his runs into the left back area, and you just knew this is going to end in disaster. And the longer the game wore on, the more the panic set in. And it cost us in the end. And it just didn't even look like scoring in that second half. Even when they scored the goal, you kind of thought, right, there's 5 minutes left here. We might get a goal, but you just knew yourself that even in this 5 minutes, nothing's going to happen. There's going to be no urgency. We're going to throw the balls up to the box, and they'll get thrown back out, and it's just not going to happen. So, disaster all around for us.
You're watching the game, Willie, and it's like the 80th minute, and you're like, yeah, they've got a goal. They've got goals in them. You could just see it coming.
Yeah. But what gets me is like Brendan Rodgers turning around and saying, well, we kind of thought we would get away with it. Like, it's 1-0 at home against Kilmarnock. You don't get away with that. Like, it's a really bad comment to come out with. Like, you know what I mean? I was just like, why are you trying to get away with a 1-0 win against Kilmarnock at home? You should be pushing the life out of this team to get. You're there to entertain the fans. It's not the Arsenal. You know what I mean? It's not 1-0 the Arsenal and walk away and be happy. Like, you know what I mean? We want to entertain at the very least, and you're not getting that at the moment.
Well, on that point, before we come to you, Dan, to finish off this recap, first thing for me is why should we? The thing is, like, we should be. What was the exact quote again? What'd you say again, Willie? I've just lost my train of thought a little bit.
What he said was, we nearly got away with it. Like, yeah,
that's the words. Get away with it. Why? Why did we, the club with the biggest budget, the best players, not in current form, but in terms of what they've done and everything else, we shouldn't have to be trying to get away with it at home against Killy. Like, so the fact that he'd even come out and say that, it's like some weeks he comes out fighting, other times he just comes out looking like he comes out looking like a lion a few weeks ago, and he comes out looking like a dog that's just been kicked in the balls or hit on the head with a newspaper or something like that. He's just, I don't know, he's just inconsistent, and we shouldn't be getting away with it. We should be going out there and dominating teams like this. And on top of that, I look at it and you're talking about 1-0 results and everything. Well, had someone in the media today saying we should look at Jose Mourinho. I don't want more 1-0 results. Like, that's the most stupid sort of thing. If we're like getting upset over a 1-1 draw, you can't go from Ange to this to Mourinho. It's gonna absolutely suck to say this, but I'd rather David Moyes over Mourinho, and that's saying something. But Dan, I'll give you the final little recap thing of the Killy game.
Lucky me. It was poor. For me, it was the biggest drama, and as I think it was Jared said, you just felt like there was a goal coming against us. Killy looked more likely in that second half to get a goal and created more than enough chances to score more than one. So, the idea that we were hanging on at home against Kilmarnock is ridiculous, but it's also accurate. That's exactly what we were hanging on for. And when you look at the breakdown, for me, we've spoken about wingers so much. We've spoken about the horseshoe. We've spoken about the slow movement and the slow passing from the centre backs. All of that was evident. But our wide players, Kuhn, Palmer, Maeda, Yang, all of them got enough service and enough ball to make opportunities. Nothing came out of it. I think it was an accumulative XG for the four of them of like 0.35 or something for the amount of ball they had, which is just outrageous that they're not taking on a man, they're not creating, there's no movement. Maeda was great at particular parts last year when there was a lot of traffic and a lot of volume going down the right. And you could see that he was the mop-up guy. He's a guy that will make those runs. When he's getting equal ball or he's not got the opportunity of having that side to himself, he looks bereft. Bernabé behind him, as you said, we're not 5 minutes in yet, so I'm not going to say what I was about to say.
Yeah, you're good to go.
We are. He's a fucking bomb scare and a half. Embarrassing give up for the goal. To claim the push, it was minimal contact. Fuck right off. If that was given against us, I would have exploded. So I'm not going to sit here and say that should have been given. But you can see it's just totally detached confidence. We can move the ball around. We can hold possession for a while, whether it's the 4-4-2 with Ida and Kyogo or it's the 4-3-3. Either way, we can move the ball around. We're just not making anything of it. The final pass is not there. The killer ball's not there. And it's fucking horrendous to watch.
So we're talking about the wingers and the fullbacks. We've spoken about them, the horseshoe. And how many times have we not closed down the cross coming in? A cross comes into the box, and what do we automatically think? Are we going to clear this? We don't have the faith of when you had a Chris Iyer and Julian in there together, or you had a Virgil in there, or some big dominant half. Even when Carter Vickers is in there, and that game in particular, it was like, are we going to clear it or not? And the fact of the matter is, the winger, when the cross came in from the right, was too far off, or the fullback. And then the left back lets his man bump him under the ball because he's lightweight. It's just soft as butter. It is absolutely pathetic. So I agree with exactly what you said, Dan, and I pretty much thought you were going to go two-footed like that, so I'm glad I got past the 5 minutes for you. Now we'll go through
very
some
agricultural here, mate. Trust me, it's agricultural here.
Yeah. So, hail, Michael Ross. Hope you're feeling better with your man flu, blocked ear, burst, blood vessel, and Celtic pish. Yep, feel better, mate. We can't help you with any of them. Who's the snitch? Morning. RL77 saying there's a poltergeist behind me. I don't know how to respond to that other than it's my aircon right here because it's filthy hot down here all day today.
He's also used to being ghosted.
Yep, heaps. Get well soon, Michael. Then we've got Andrew saying we've got a feeling we're stuck with Rogers. Expect a big clearance sale in the summer. But as Michael says, who's going to buy those players? Yeah, it's just going to be interesting. So, yeah, I suppose it's a bit of a watch this space, and hopefully we can turn it around. Kevin Mullen, great summary. Team looks as if they're still pining over Big Ange like an old girlfriend all season. Think I can count 3 brilliant performances. I've struggled to even find 3 brilliant performances. Like, in some games, we've had like a good 45 minutes, or we've had a good hour, but I can't see us putting together a full 90 minutes that was absolutely brilliant this season that I can remember. Maybe right back early doors or something like that, but I can't remember it. So
You look at the
yeah,
game
it's,
against Rangers. Rangers,
that's
good
it.
first half. Second half, got away with
Rubbish.
it.
Yeah. So yeah, I can't really think of many that is a full 90-minute effort there. So yeah, and then B, I agree with you. I think we'll beat Motherwell strangely, and it's going to be. And the key word there is strangely. I'll say it in my prediction later on, but I'll say it now. We're going to win 2-1, and it's going to be an own goal deciding it in our favour. That's what I'm thinking will happen in that game. Honestly, I think it's just ridiculous. Can't plan anything properly, but we'll leave that there for a bit, and we'll crack on to a few other things. So apparently there was a team crisis meeting held by Kelmac and 2 other senior members of the squad. My thoughts probably Jamesy and Joe Hart. What do you think was discussed at the meeting, boys? We'll start with you, Willie.
I think our inability to kill teams off would be one of the main topics that would have been discussed for me. I would hope it would be one of the main topics to be discussed for me, because we're horseshoeing that ball around the middle of the park and we're not putting any emphasis. We get the first goal and we're not putting any emphasis on killing the team off. And for me, Callum McGregor and Joe Hart and Tony Ralston and maybe Greg Taylor, they're the senior pros of the team. They need to be sitting there and they need to be looking people like Palmer and Kuhn and boys like that in the eye and saying, you are at Glasgow Celtic now. A draw is not acceptable. You cannot get away with just results like this every week. That is just disastrous for us. Like, second is nothing in this league. Like, you know what I mean? Well, it needs to be spelled out to them, like, because right now their standards are bringing us down. And for me, this meeting has to have happened. It probably should have happened a couple of weeks ago. This is the sort of thing they should have done in their mid-season break. They should have sat down and explained it to these new guys when they're coming in. This is what we expect, and this is the standards you're going to be setting at this club. But they're not meeting it at this moment in time. I'm sure there'll be a few other things that would have been said there too about the other guys. So jump in and what they think.
I think for me, it would have been that, as you're saying, Willie, talking about the standards, talking about what's expected of a footballer at Celtic. And then also the fact of guys, body language is sucked with some, last year, if players subbed off, what did they do? Did they sulk the majority of them? No, they come off because they'd worked their asses off for 60 minutes or so. And then it was like, okay, next man up, you go and work your ass off for the next 30. So give each other a 5, a pat on the ass, whatever, and get on with it. This season, if someone gets subbed off, they just look like they're sulking, the majority of the guys. And they're not even doing anything out there. So I'm hoping the standards, the body language, what's expected, and the way you need to carry yourself was addressed. And then above that, the style of play and the buying into what the gaff is saying. Like, I don't agree with the way we're playing suit and the players we have, but I would hope that would have been discussed. Jared, what do you reckon was discussed?
Well, it was led by Carl Hart and Greg Taylor, because it was a quote from Greg Taylor that I saw, which I also found like Carl Mack needs to lead by example. He's been one of the problems the last few games. Like, he was horrendous that game, and he's going to be telling people like they need to try harder. But yeah, it was pretty much. He said he didn't want to go into too much detail because they probably did give them a bit of a revving, a bit of a Dan. But it was about, this is Celtic, this is what's expected from Celtic, and all this sort of stuff. But it just makes me think, didn't this happen with Brendan Rodgers? Didn't he give everyone a revving at halftime or something, and then we came out and we played good for another half? Like, so what's going to happen? Like,
yeah, you shouldn't need to be told off or whatever. Like, yeah, the Brendan Rodgers one where he said it's the angriest I've ever been at halftime in a game before. That was the quote.
Yep. And it worked for another half. So, I mean, what's going to happen here? Like, they've come to Celtic. You've got, like, they all come and they're like, oh, yes, we've known about Celtic. They know it's a great club. And it doesn't matter. Like, you're on top of the league with another team closing down. It doesn't matter if you're Celtic or any other team. Like, why do you need to get yelled at to do your job at a club that's at the top of any ladder? Right? I don't understand it.
Ridiculous. And Dan?
Yeah, look, not much to add. You just hope that it's whether it was a rev up or whether it was a bit of a motivational thing, you've just got to hope that there's, I guess, something that comes out of it at this point, and whether it's guys like Cal Max saying, I put my hand up, I haven't been good enough either, but we need to turn this around, if it's that, I'm way more behind it than, the picture painted of someone just, Cal Max screaming at the team, because as you said, he's been as bad as some others out there over the last few weeks in particular. So at this point, we've said it before, it feels like the COVID season a lot of the way. It feels like a really slow turning train wreck. We can see it coming, iceberg dead ahead, whatever analysis or analogy you want to use. But, hopefully if the players are saying whatever their issues are with the way Brendan's got them playing, and we've spoken about that, we've spoken about possibly thinking that the tactics and the formation don't quite suit the players that we've got there. Hopefully it's about them saying, look, we've got to put that behind us at this point, and we've just got to play our best football, because it's at this point it's by hook or by crook. It can be as ugly as you want. I don't give a what have we got, 12 games left in the league? I don't give a fuck what the performances look like at this point. If they're all 1-0 wins and they're turgid, get through it and reassess. Just get through it at this point. And that's pretty disappointing as a Celtic fan to say, because we do expect better than that. And that's not, you listen to, BBC Sports Sound or Clyde Super Scoreboard or whatever, and we're told that we're entitled and that we're, we've had it so good for so long. But to me, that's not entitlement. That's us demanding and expecting what we know we should be getting from our football club. We are the biggest and the best football club in Scotland. We do have expectations, and what we're seeing is so far below that. That's what I hope was put across to those guys in this meeting. Like, I don't know how much more to say.
It's a standard, Dan. Like, the playing group should have standards, but as a fan support base, we've got standards. We expect to be the best, to do everything that we've got. We built that up over 120, 25 odd years or whatever it is. My maths is pretty bad, all things considered, probably more. I can't remember. But we built it up over 100 years to get it to this point where, as a fan base, we expect better than what is being dished up. And if we're one of those clubs, and as a fan base, if we're constantly dipping into our pockets and putting money in, buying kits, buying Celtic TV, buying tickets, all this good stuff that happens, why are we entitled? Where if we don't like what's going on, we should be able to voice it, because there's something we'll touch on later on about, we're going to talk about some financial stuff a bit later in the pod, and we'll tie back into this then. But if we're digging in our pockets, we should be able to say what we think.
For me, like, I think about it because I'm a head coach, so I think about it from a coach's point of view. And for me, I would be like, at training, like, you're looking for effort. It doesn't matter how skilled, because people say, oh, people aren't good enough for Celtic. Right now, I'd say everyone that we've got in the roster, except for Barrowfield, is good enough for the Scottish League if they're putting in effort. Like, so I would just be making sure everyone has a good attitude, they're putting in effort, and you would put the team that you think is actually going to pull their finger out of their ass. I don't care what positions they're playing. I don't care, like, how many are allowed on the bench, like 7. If we don't have 7 actually putting in effort at training, I would go to the bench with 3 players and have other people sitting just to freaking make a point. Like, come out and play hard and bring back a water.
Yep. There's a quote that Kobe Bryant said back in the day, which was, hard work outweighs talent every time. And that sums up exactly what you're saying there, Jared.
There's one thing every player can control. I don't care what the manager says. I don't care what the board says. If you're on the field, you can control your attitude and you can control your effort. Like, no one else is going to control that for you. So if you lose the ball and you're like, oh, bugger it, let them go back down. Like, that's on you. And that happened a couple of times. That wouldn't happen. And I keep saying this word. It wouldn't have happened under Ange. Like, as soon as you lost the ball, you pressed and you got the freaking ball back. Like, but we went from we never stop to, oh, we'll run up. Let's see if we can get away with it. Doesn't have the same freaking ring to it, does it?
We never stopped.
I'm not buying that shirt.
What concerns me most is we went from a team that would play for 96 to 100 minutes flat out, full game, just 100 mile an hour, to a team that's gassed up for 60, and then just tired and moving the ball around just to try and ease the pressure off themselves. And it's just like, what has happened to the fitness of this team? And another point to that about players, Burnaby makes the same mistake week in, week out. Mitchell Frame should come in, and if Mitchell Frame makes that mistake this week, he will certainly not make it next week, because he'll learn his lesson and he'll learn and he'll become a better player for it. Burnaby is coming in there week in, week out, drifting out of position and making the same mistakes, and it's cost us this big time this week. It's cost us 2 points. Other weeks we've gotten away with it because we've been 2 or 3 up, and it's not come back to haunt us this week. It has, like, so.
I'm gonna jump on something you just said there, Willie, which was about the fitness, right? When Neil Lennon left the first time, Ronnie Dahlia comes in and he has the pushback from people like Chris Commons and all those guys over the fitness levels of the players. He built up over the 2 seasons the fitness base. Brendan's come in with a really fit team, and he managed to carry that over when he was at the club the first time and kept it up. He's come in this time. The players are even fitter than they were when he took over the first time at the club. And as you said, they've just like fallen off a cliff. I just don't get it.
But Brendan's big in his sports science and his fitness and that. He's not one of these managers like Neil Lennon who'll let you go out and get drunk on a Wednesday because you've no game on Thursday, or till the Saturday and like have fish suppers and be sitting in the streets with kebabs and things like that. He's not that kind of manager, you know what I mean? He is big on his sports science, and fitness was one of the big things that Scott Brown said. The big difference between Ronnie Dyle and him was the way he looked after the fitness of the players. So I can't understand it. How can you go from being a team that will play for the full 90 minutes and give everything for the full 90 minutes to a team that's looking like it's gassed after 60? Like,
makes zero sense. So I'll bring up some comments and then we'll crack on. So Michael Ross had a comment here. Why is Colmack more often than not passing backwards to our centre backs? Coach's orders more than likely. Love it. We're playing like the other mob did under Van Bronckhorst before he was binned. The whole team's playing with no confidence at home. 100%. Who's the snitch is the best analogy that I've seen so far, which was Rogers is the captain of the Titanic and we are the crew. It's pretty much summing up what's going on at the moment. We're asking about what was discussed at the team meeting. RL77 is that it was a meet and greet for the new super striker, Mark Lawwell. Kevin Mullen is saying, be embarrassing if we lose the league to them. That's the worst part. They're nothing special when you watch them, but the players know what they're supposed to be doing. That's the difference. Like, did we not hear Kelmack coming out the other day saying similar to what he said under Lennon in the COVID season where, then the players didn't know what the game plan was? Something similar was said. I don't remember if it was Kelmack or someone else who said it, but yeah, it's a bit disappointing. Then we've got Lovett. Why Rogers did not show up the back line on Saturday late on is baffling. Instead of chasing another goal, he should have protected a lead. We had extra defenders on the bench from what I can remember.
He doesn't trust them. He doesn't trust them at all.
What was the comment in our group chat, Dan, that you said? Was £11 million was spent on those 3 defenders?
Naroki, Lagerbielke, and Bernabei is about 11 million quid. And we've got a centre-half pairing of Welsh and Scales. And we'd rather play a fence post at left back than Bernabei.
I think my cup could do a better job than Burnaby, and that's saying something.
It's a good looking cup. It looked to have a little bit more composure, I'll be honest.
Hang on, we'll go better. We'll at least go the bottle because it's the right colour. There you go. Chuck that out there. Yeah, so what do we got here? There's another comment. Kevin Mullen, we went from we never stop to we never start. And then Ian McIntosh was Chris Davies was big on sports science. Maybe you can't do it without Chris Davies. What do we got here? John Mullaney, Celtic Park is a paper fortress. And Brendan McKeown, Rogers out, Ted Lasso in. Are you talking Ted Lasso or are you talking about Jesse Marsh? Anyone see him on TV the other day doing that little video of the press and the way it all works? Got me all G'd up. I'm like, okay, I could see him at Celtic again in the future. Get him in. Can't be worse than this. Yeah. Anyway, get back to the run sheet. So there was a story that came out of Celtic where basically announcing that the club is bemused by the amount of stick Peter Lawwell is receiving. Now, we all know Peter Lawwell has his trusted sources with who he goes to, and when stories come out of the club to the media, it's usually Stephen McGowan is the main one he normally goes to. So has Peter Lawwell shown his hand with this going to one of his usual sources in the Scottish mainstream media and having this article released? What do you reckon, Jared?
But yeah, probably. Like, it's just trolling.
It's taking the piss, isn't he?
What really got to me was you read it and they're basically saying, oh, the board is so bemused that everyone's out to get rid of Lawwell because he doesn't even deal with transfers anymore. And it's like, yeah, because he put his son in the job.
Mm.
That's why we've got the issue. It's because we've got a backroom staff in what's supposed to be a professional top shelf football club run on nepotism and mates. That's the problem. It's not, Peter Lawwell said we should sign Burnaby. It's the fact that these people are put in those positions. Like, am I totally crazy? Like, what are we?
Yeah.
You're preaching to the choir, Dan. You're speaking too much sense.
I mean, they're sitting and saying he has nothing to do with any of the signings. This past two windows, maybe even three, reek of Lawwellism, just penny pinching the whole way. It just sums up how far out of touch the board are with the support, that they can't see how, or they're saying, we're bemused by this. Like, honestly, in a week where Michael Beale was revealed to have burner Twitter accounts, it looks like Peter Law has revealed that he has a burner journalist account and he's printing stories about himself to try and make himself look good. It just really gets to me, this one. Like, you know what I mean? He's a chairman who oversees all departments, including the recruitment. He's in charge of the CEO. If anyone thinks this article is anything other than an attempt from Lawwell to just distance himself to the mess that's here, it's just, they need to have another look at the situation, because it clearly is.
There's others within the fan media sphere as well that have their like weekly catch-ups with Peter Lawwell that you hear about. So, like, realistically, like, you've got what's his name? Celtic Underground, was it Harry Brady down there? He's having numerous times he's had interviews and stuff with Peter Lawwell. And then you got CQN, Celtic Quick News. They have a guy writing for them as well with the same sort of deal. So it's like, you don't know what to believe, but at the end of the day, he just wants to see his name in lights and, you know, not have people having a crack. But at the end of the day, he's shit at his job. He should be out the door because he doesn't do his job properly. If you employ someone to do a job and they don't do the job properly, they should be out the door. So he should be out the door. His kids should be out the door. And a whole bunch more should be out too, and it should be a whole new reset for the club.
Nowhere in the world of business does a CEO leave and then come back a year later as the chairman. Like, no business ever would allow that to happen. But 100%. For some reason, the nepotism, we allow it. Like,
And to me, Willie said it perfectly. It's the penny pinching that goes from the top down. And it's, it's not him sitting there saying, sign this guy, sign that guy. But that's setting the tone. We're paying no more than 3 or 4 million quid for a signing because we know we're not going to be able to spend more than that. We're not going to get approval to spend more than that. So your entire recruitment focus is around this ballpark figure. And the players that we're picking within that ballpark are not up to standard.
Yeah, like
it just has a flow-on effect.
The checklist, Dan, was what was it? They had to be under the age of 23 or under the age of 24, have to be under, was it £5 million or £4 million or something like that. They have to have a potential to be a resale. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, I'll bring up a comment based on that. So, Love it was like, if it's true we only wanted to spend $3 million for Miovski, our board's a joke, yet we paid more for Bernabei 2 years ago. And then Andrew Galea was, we're not spending money because we spent it all on Brendan. John Mulaney is saying jobs for the boys in this biscuit tin mentality has returned to our club since Lawwell come back. Mahesh is saying Celtic's form is not on the recruitment, it's squarely on Rodgers. Celtic's form entirely predictable based on Rodgers' last season at Leicester. 100%.
You've got to separate the two. Both earn their own criticism. We had this conversation the other day.
Yeah.
Criticism of the board and recruitment and criticism of what's happening on the field. Yes, there are strands that go across, but there's two, not recruiting someone decent didn't directly correlate to giving up that goal against Killy, right? Yes, we have a good left back. Maybe that doesn't happen, but you don't know. But the tactics, and what Rodgers is doing on the pitch has its own criticism aside from, just shitting on the Laws because it's they're the easy target, let's be honest. And rightfully so. Don't get me wrong. They're 100% the right targets, but.
Yep. No, I agree with you, Dan. They're definitely the right targets, and the quicker we can get the Lawwells out of the club, the better. I mean, the rumour is that Mark Lawwell is going to put his notice in, and at the end of the season, he's leaving to go elsewhere. I mean, this is the head of recruitment. If you're going to leave, you should be leaving as soon as a transfer window closes. Right, I'm done. I'm out. Sorry, I'm going to give the new guy time to come in, get your feet in, and start getting your ideas. And what's the point in Mark Lawwell picking up a wage until the end of the season to turn around on August the 1st and say, right, that's the season. July the 1st and say, it's the season over. I'm done. I'm out of here. Here's a couple of weeks to try and find a new guy. Hopefully they'll have him in place. But he's going to turn around and go, all right, I've got 4 weeks until the transfer window opens to try and get some signings in. You know what I mean? You're not giving a guy a chance to hit the ground running here. Like, you know what I mean? You're just throwing him in at the deep end and hoping he'll be able to swim. It just doesn't make sense. The way the club has been run, it's quite simply, it's run on nepotism. And like the past 2 transfer windows have to be the worst in our club's history. And you can take the COVID seasons and that. You can go back to the 90s when we didn't even have money to spend on players. They still had better transfer dealings than this. Like, it's just shocking.
So Kevin Mullins commented saying, like father, like son, Lawwells would argue over who took the last biscuit. And then Lovett saying, I do not believe Lawwell ever left. He was still the puppet master pulling the strings of the board. No joke, we saw that with the whole Dom Mackay situation. Andrew Galea saying Rodgers wrecked Andrew's team. What's the snitch? Who's the snitch? You're saying none of them are going to give up a well-paid job. And then Lovett saying Rodgers still inherited a squad other managers can only truly dream of. He should be crushing this league 100%. And then I'm going to bring up a comment from B. Based on what happened the other day, Harry Kuehl, future manager, dreamt it the other night. Yes, please. That would be absolutely majestic again. He's doing well over in Japan. Other than growing a really, really weird-looking beard on him, it makes his face look an odd shape. Yep. Not everyone can rock a beard like Dan here.
We got to leave it to the pros, Harry.
But yeah, we'll just crack on because I wanted to touch on. We're just talking about the whole finance and the biscuit tin mentality. Celtic were named by UEFA as one of the top 10 most profitable clubs in Europe. We are ranked number 7 on the list. Now, why I brought that up is because we all know the window was an absolute dog's breakfast, transfer window. We all know we're sitting on some fat stacks of cash. What is it? Anaheim Ducks are saying 70 million in the bank, possibly 90 when you put in what we've sold and whatever. But if you shop in the pound shop, you're going to get instant noodles. I've comparatively spent more on 40K stuff on Celtic than Celtic have on players. Yeah. So realistically, yeah, we've got all that cash sitting there, and we're the 7th most profitable club in Europe. And here we are, which times into the name of it. We started from the top, now we're here. If that's the episode, like we had the top squad, we'd just gone for treble, everything was looking up, and now we're in second. Not ideal. So
And that's the thing. It's an absolute dismantling of a side that was flying. It's insane how quickly all that goodwill and that momentum has evaporated.
Yep, 100%. So Andrew Galea is saying that a good manager would get something out of this squad. Dermot Celtic Rabbitoh, welcome back. Haven't seen you in the comments in a while. Hope you're well. Hope your football team has a shocking season coming up, though, because of the Rabbitoh part in it. Down to like that. But Dermot's saying, don't panic. Plenty of players to come back and play 2 games against them. But the criticism is almost the same as last year. Scratch record, Winchfest. CCV will be back, and so will our defence. Yeah. I'm looking at it going, CCV is going to come back. Yes, that's going to settle things down and give us a bit more depth. But as Dan was saying earlier, we've got 2 centre-backs that we bought in the summer that the gaffer doesn't even trust. So we've already got plenty of players that should be playing over the top of Welsh at least. So, yeah, I don't know. Just disappointed.
You could go a little deeper than that, Jared. You could say every player that's been signed since Rodgers returned, he doesn't trust. He takes Palm off at half-time regularly. Kuhn isn't getting a look in. Bernardo's probably the one, his pet favourite, but he's hot
been
and cold.
playing like shite for ages.
Yeah, he's had a few good games this season, then he drifts out it, and you can say the rest of the signings, not one of them is a guaranteed first-team starter, are they?
And that we've spoken about it, but that illustrates the disconnect. Recruitment, management. They're in different ballparks. They're playing different games.
They are, and it's like, where do you draw the line? Where does Rodgers just turn around and say, well, do you know what? This season's falling apart, and I've tried my best. I've given you players I wanted to sign. You're not going to sign them because they're too expensive. You're giving me this dross. How do you expect me to work with this dross? You're throwing spanners into the spokes here against me, and we should be working together, not fighting against each other. To me, that's how it seems. Looking out from the outside, looking in at it, I would say they're at loggerheads with each other overall, and it's detrimental to the whole club as a whole.
I'm going to do this because Jared hasn't said anything for a little while here. So come on, Jared, say something funny or witty or something.
Oh,
come on, funny man.
No, I just hate all the talk about the money and like I just look at the team and go, we shouldn't be drawing with Kilmarnock. We shouldn't be worried about losing or drawing to Motherwell. We've got players there that can win and that can do stuff. We haven't seen anything really different from Rodgers, except he put 2 strikers on at the one time, and I'm not convinced Ida is a striker. How many times has he had the ball and he's not even hitting the target? But it seems like he doesn't get his head up, and his first look is to pass it to someone else when he's inside the box. If it's not a penalty, he can't seem to hit the target. Yep. So why is he even on the field? And then we're taking Kyogo and putting him in a position that he can't even, it's not his position. That's the only real change that our amazing manager could do. Change the formation. In his experience, he should be able to get something out of these people. But bringing on Bernabe because he planned on bringing Taylor off at the 60th minute just because he's back from injury. Taylor didn't look tired. I think he could have probably went for a bit longer, but I think the plan was to take him off. Like, if you want to take him off, fine. Change the formation. Go to a 3-back. I've said this every freaking podcast we've been on. Like, go to a 3-back. I don't understand what his problem with Naraki. Every time he comes on, he's not actually that bad. But then he just disappears. Like, give him a chance. Like, every time he comes on, he's playing with a different other centre-back. It needs time. When he was playing with CCV, they actually started looking really good, and then he got injured.
I like Naraki from what I've seen. It makes no sense why he keeps getting dumped like this out of the squad. I don't get it. Makes no sense to me.
There's something we're not seeing.
Yeah,
because
and Andrew said, we're not playing two strikers because Kyogo's a midfielder, but Kyogo's not a midfielder, he's a striker. You're playing a striker in the bloody midfield.
Next thing you know, we're going to start playing Kelmac at left back again, everyone.
Well, it would be an improvement on Bernabé.
That's just a throwback to the old day where we left, what's his name, Julian and Bolingoli on the bench for a Champions League qualifier. Yeah, that's what that was all about. But yeah, I'm going to bring up some comments here. Kaiser's saying the players are terrified to pass forward and they are passing sideways or back, afraid to be fed to the fans or thrown under the bus by Brendan. Sack up, boys, and just play it forward. It's simple. Like, if Brendan's going to throw you under a bus, we're intelligent enough as a fan base that, okay, the happy clappers will just take anything that Brendan says as gospel, but the rest of us will be like, nah, he's doing the right thing. He's trying to play positive football. I can live with a few misplaced passes here and there. That's why first game of the season, Turnbull gets to start over Hatate. Why? Because Hatate tries to play these balls forward and he's a little risky. And he gets benched for it. The writing was on the wall from the first game of the season. So then we'll go here. What other comment was there? Yeah, I saw another one earlier I wanted to bring in, but John Mulaney, that's it. It's Roger's ego that's getting in the way. Robert Gibson, we'd be better off having the cast of Benny Hill show in the team just now.
Can I just, coming back on that last one where you said it's Roger's ego, and I'm not saying this is the case. And look, far be it from me, I'm not, a tactical genius, manager. We see it with every great manager. They either reinvent, change style, and move with the time, or they reach a point where what was working for them doesn't, but they don't evolve. Over 20 years, you saw Sir Alex Ferguson, so many different evolutions, different styles, different play, depending on what he had. Is it just that we're at the point where Roger's style isn't getting the job done, but he is not flexible enough or he's not prepared enough to make those changes?
Maybe he's going to be stuck in his flexibility in his life.
And then when we lose, he goes on and says, "Oh, we don't have quality." How is that going to make the players feel? It's like, "Oh, we didn't sign anyone, and the manager thinks we're all shit. We've got no quality."
To be fair to Rodgers, we don't have the quality in the wide areas. Like, Rodgers' style of football needs wide players to get out wide and get the ball in early, or beat their man and get to the byline and get the ball in. But we haven't got the quality there to do that. Like, they just simply do not have any form of quality in the wide area, and it's crippling us big time at the moment.
But why would you come out and say that as a coach? As you're the manager, the window is shut. Like, yes, we talk about this every week. We know there's no quality. The quality isn't there. But you're the manager. Like, you've got to make them into quality. Like, they've got something there, and then you're just going to be like, well, there's no quality. So it's like, well, a lot of football is confidence. And if they're already not the quality you want, now you're knocking their confidence. Brilliant fucking management. There's no quality in the management.
I totally agree with you, Gerard. Like, you can't just, like, you can come out once or twice a season after a bad result and throw the players under the bus and say, that's not what we expect out of this team here. This is what you expect better. But to come out with a sort of regular basis, he's coming out and saying, I haven't got the quality here. We haven't got this in this area. We're lacking a little bit in that area. Like, it is going to start getting to the players, like, you know what I mean? But in answer to your questions, like about the formations and that, like personally, I would move to a 4-3-2-1 and play the Christmas tree, sacrifice the wide area and start playing through the middle. Because we haven't got the quality in the wide areas. I would play Maeda and Kyogo attacking between the lines from out to in, or trying to push out wide from the between the lines, between the defence and the midfield, and leave Ida up front as a spearhead of it all, with the three of Kalmak, Bernardo, and O'Reilly behind them.
I got to be honest, I don't mind that, but I think if you're going to do that, one of the guys in the middle of the park needs to be Iwata.
Yeah,
100%.
you could say that it
wins the ball.
Yeah, it would be Iwata sitting in the centre with Kalmak attacking the left side of midfield and O'Reilly attacking the right side of midfield. But the only problem with that is you've still got Greg Taylor who will drift off a little bit on the left, and you might have a little bit of weakness. I mean, you're giving up too much area in the wide areas. But I think Alistair Johnson's good enough to play that sort of formation.
I'm going to bring up a comment from Robert Gibson here, because now I know what Sabetio is, or however you say it. It actually makes sense to me. Rogers has a big shit-eating grin. Never liked him, never wanted him, and his football is slower than Sabetio, or however you say it.
Sabetio on a shag pile, Robert.
You were so confident you knew how to say it too, and then you shit the bed.
Yep. Totally. I need new bed sheets now. There you go.
Sabutio's great. I've got a Sabutio set somewhere.
I'd never even heard of it until this season, when someone kept mentioning that Tilio is the size of a Sabetio player. That's the only reason I actually know what it is now.
I've got a little Sydney FC team somewhere. I'll see if I can dig it out and get them up behind me next week.
I'll be smaller than Ali Aziz, or whatever his name was, or Ali Abbas, or whatever, who played for us. He was a little midget.
Good little player. We could use someone. He's not wrong. It's the teeth with Brendan, right?
My formation, I'm not going to go back. I'm not going to.
You there?
I think my thing just froze. Yeah,
you froze.
All right. So we're talking about formation. Am I still frozen?
No, I can hear you.
You're good.
All right. So I'm not going to say 3 at back again. I think and to be honest, I would actually be choosing Ralston over AJ, even if he's healthy. So I would go with the 2 centre backs, put Iwata in the middle, but have him play almost like a centre back, so that the other 2 centre backs can drift wide to cover for our right back and left back. Because Taylor, playing well, pushes forward and plays more like a midfielder. Ralston is the only person that can actually play on the wing. He gets to the byline, makes crosses, he does all that. So if we can have Iwata just hold in that middle area, have our centre backs be able to drift wide and cover, so that Iwata can come back and cover the middle. Then we can have Kalmak, O'Reilly playing in the middle of the field, have our wide players actually go wide, spread the field. Some of them are actually, they're good with the ball at the feet, make someone miss and pass it back in, or do something. I don't know. But have our right back, left back push up the field, have more attack. I think you can get away with that more if you've got Iwata sitting back there playing that sort of middle.
Just screening the defense, yeah, makes sense. Yep. So we'll go to one of the last couple of topics. We'll sort of talk about the Motherwell game, but I wanted to jump back on got the development at Barrowfield that has commenced. So looks like it's going to be, once the work's all done, it's going to be the home of the women's team, B team. The youth academy will be playing games and training there and everything. Big indoor venue for, and it's snowing and, can't get out and train at Lennoxtown. The senior team, the men will get down there and train as well. So it's good to see the club putting a bit of money into infrastructure and everything. But I want to just discuss your thoughts on all of this, guys, because you've got a lot more. I haven't even been to Barrowfield, wouldn't have the slightest clue. I know it's not that far, but how is this going to, address, Willie, I'll go to you on this. Is this going to open up the opportunity for weekend double headers and stuff, where you could have a women's game? You go to Parkhead, watch the men's game, and then at midday, and then go for a 3 p.m. game at Barrowfield for the women or something like that. Would something like that work, or what are your thoughts on the whole overall development and then that sort of thing?
I'm not sure they're building a stadium there. I think it's just training facilities, is it not?
Yeah,
Well, same.
there's not even a stand there from what I could see.
So, if a small stand, 3 or 4K stand, was to be the next step, then yeah, that would be something you could do. You could have the B team on a lunchtime kickoff, a 3 p.m. kickoff. You'd be able to get out of Barrowfield and up to Parkhead for the 3 p.m. kickoff, no bother. Like so, but it's state of the art what they're building. You got to take your hats off to them. They're moving forward with it, like, and a full size artificial pitch indoor one, state of the art gym, academy, offices, and analytics centres as well. So it is a really big step in the right direction for the youth, for the B team and the women's team. So it's good to see, and it's good to see how Elena is pretty excited about it all as well, the new women's coach. So. But like I was quite shocked. I thought there would be a stand there somewhere too. So even if it's at one stand, you know what I mean, you could segregate the away fans at one end, a couple of thousand seats or whatever. But I was quite shocked to see that there was no stands in there for it.
It was originally supposed to have a 5,000 seat stand there.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought was still happening. So yeah, interesting. Dan, you got any thoughts on that whole setup?
Look, I don't mind that. As you said, to me, it's almost like, all right, sweet, we're going to put these facilities in place. It'll be great for recruitment when it comes to getting kids into the academy and for signing women's players. But it does kind of feel like they're going to do it on the cheap again. They're not going to put the stand in. They're not going to have the ability to play games there. Yeah, there'll be the full-size pitch. There'll be all these training facilities. There'll be jacuzzis and ice baths and whatever else. It's going to be great, but kind of feels like they're just going to do it a little bit on the cheap again. As you said, you could have double headers, you could have triple headers, you could have the women, from what I understand, and look, forgive me, I don't watch a lot of the women's football, but they don't even play in Glasgow at the moment.
Play down Airdrie, I think it is.
It's like, get them playing. How do you build a fan base when you're forcing people, you know, your rusted ons are going to go, but your casuals aren't, you know, they're not going to make that effort unless it's a derby or, you know, it's a big game. I don't know. I just want to see, I don't know, whether maybe I am entitled, but I just want to see more.
Yep, 100%. I want to see, if we're going to be sitting on these piles of cash we're talking about, get the hotel built, get Barrowfield done, do up the main stand when you can, and just get on with it. If we're not going to spend money on the pitch, get the facilities right. But the amount of money we've got, say, if we qualified, we win the league, qualify for the Champions League, that's all paid for off the Champions League money, and we don't even touch the money that's currently in the bank. So, and I know Jared's sick of the financial talk and everything, so I'll give you the final chat on it again. But the only reason I said that is I'm getting sick of it as well. So I'm spewing it out. It's like frustrating as, because it's like we can afford to do all that and invest and get the players that we need for the first team quality in the men's. Go and kick ass, do well in the Champions League. There's a whole bunch of stuff we want. There's a massive disconnect between what we want as fans and what the club's doing, and it just does my friggin' head in. So, Jared, there you go.
It's not the finance stuff that I hate. It's things that don't make sense. If something doesn't make sense and it keeps happening, it does my head in and I can't think of it. And it's just like things like, hey, this is like the best time to win the league because of the amount of money you can get. And with the Champions League, we're already ahead, spend 10, 20 million, and we're set for the future. And it's like, no, we don't want to do that. We've got all this money in the bank. Like, it doesn't, like, that's what it doesn't make any sense. Like, we're already there. And we've bloody Steve Bradbury'd it. Like, good on Rangers. They're celebrating and giving us shit because we were giving them shit. But right now, Rangers aren't our rivals. Fucking Celtic are our rivals. We need to get over ourselves before we can even work about playing everyone else. That does my fucking head in. Make it make sense.
Yep, 100%. Oh, fucking Robert Gibson. Burnaby wouldn't make the women's team.
No.
So Yeah, we'll leave that topic there. So this is something we're going to talk about last week, and I kept for this week because we're running a bit long on the pod. So we've got some upcoming expiring contracts over the next couple of summers, right? So I just want to rattle off 4 players and get you to say yes or no if we should extend these guys' contracts. Joe Hart, Dan,
Yes.
Jared,
Unless we get another starter, no. But if we do get another starter, no. If not, yes.
Willie.
No.
Okay, so that's at the end of this season. Then at the end of next season, there's 3 players: Liam Scales, Greg Taylor, James Forrest. Dan, what are you thinking?
Well, it's hard because if we're not going to buy anyone, then you probably need to keep Scales and Taylor because we've got no one behind them. Well, assuming that we're going to improve those positions, I would keep Scales. I would improve left back with at least 2 players and let Taylor go. And who's the third one?
James.
John. Yeah, sorry, mate. Great player, great servant.
Because his contract's over, give him a testimonial. I can't remember if it happened or not. Give him his testimonial if it hasn't happened, and then say thanks for everything. I'm sure
he's got a big contract too, from what I remember. Like he got a good last payday out of it. So
he'll get a nice payday down here if he wants to come down the A League and play in our piping hot summer where we melt on the pitch. Willie?
I would sell Forrest. I would probably sell Scales as well, if I'm totally honest. I think we can do better than the Scales. And if we probably get another left back in, I would keep Taylor as a reserve. But the Scales one, I wouldn't be too bothered if they sold him, to be honest with you. I just don't think he's going to push us on to the next level. I think he would make a good reserve centre-back, but so would Stephen Welsh, and so would Lagerbielke, and so would Nawrocki. So take your pick in any one of them.
And Jared?
Yep, I agree. I would keep Taylor as a backup left back, but not as a starter. Scales, I think he's peaked. I don't think he's going to get any better. So sell high because he's not. His price is not going to go any higher than it is now. And yeah, Forrest, he should just retire or go do where he wants, but not here. I'm glad he stayed for a little bit, but time is up.
So Andrew Galea is saying we should be selling Scales now. Lovett's saying no Forrest and Scales and Taylor. No Forrest, Scales, Taylor are squad players. Robert Gibson's punt all 3. And then we've got Kaiser. Sack them, sell them, or sack Brendan, bring in Knutson. There you go. Happy days. So we'll just talk about the game against Motherwell on Sunday. So, Willie, you touched on it earlier. Will Celtic have a changed formation for this game? Do you think we're going to get that Christmas tree you were talking about, or we're going to be stuck with the same situation and Brendan's only change is the equivalent of Lenny switching the wingers like he used to do?
I don't think we'll see the Christmas tree formation come into it. I really don't. I don't think Brendan's style of football will allow him to do that. I think if he's going to change to anything, it might be the 4-2-3-1, where he play a double pivot in front of the defence. Maybe I try and allow the passing from the defence rather than horseshoeing around defence from left back to right, the centre back to right back, and then going back across the defence. Give him 2 options to get the ball out of there rather than just the one. He might go with that, but I think it'll probably be the same again, to be honest. I think they'll probably go back to the 4-4-2 again. So, yeah.
Just in the comments,
I would like to see the 4-2-3-1, right? The 4-3-2-1, right? But I just can't see it happening.
Just in the comments, let us know your starting lineup for the Motherwell game, the formation and your starting lineup. Jared, what do you think? Will we ever change formation, and what will be your starting lineup?
I don't think we'll have a formation. We would have seen it by now. Starting lineup, it's probably going to be Scales and Welsh. I would prefer Nawrocki to come in. Taylor's back, Ralston, and we need Iwata to play a 6, push McGregor and O'Reilly up, Kyogo, striker, Maeda, left back, and you know what? I'm going to go a little bit off. I would put Forrest at right wing. Because they're talking about, this is Celtic, you need to play as Celtic. Like, put a Celtic boy out there and show him how it's done.
Yeah, pity we don't have Mikey Johnson to show us that with the form he's in since he left. I had to for the comments. I'm just waiting. I'll check the phone tomorrow morning and there'll be all these comments there about Mikey Johnson. Next thing you know, I'll be mentioning Kieran Tierney being signed in the summer too. There you go. Comments are going to go off. I'm going to get some hate. Love it. Looking forward to it. Dan, what are you thinking? Any change of formations or anything like that?
When you say Mikey Johnson, do you mean the Midlands Pele?
Yep, 100%.
No, it'll either be the 4-3-3 or the 4-4-2 with Kyogo on that point between midfield and striker. I don't see anything changing. I hope it does. I like the Christmas tree formation. I like the idea of Iwata playing in that 6 role. For me, that's the way I would do it. It's got to be Ralston. CCV's not quite back yet, right? From what I understand.
Apparently
so
he might be back.
I'm like, I wouldn't rush him, but I also want to rush him because I really want him in there. But other than that, I think it's pretty much the same side. I've got McGregor and O'Reilly in the middle of the park with Iwata running through the 6 role. They're going to play with Witt. Let's be honest, that's what they're going to try and play with Witt. So, whether it's Kuhn and Maeda or take your pick, just throw whoever's feeling it for the day. Like, let's be honest, the lucky bit.
CCV's back for the weekend.
No, we'll take it. If he's definitely back, I mean, they're going to play him. We've got to play him at this point. We've rushed him back before, but we've got to get him in there if he's fit. So get him in there, Kyogo up top, or Ida with him off it, whatever. It doesn't matter. Just score more goals than Motherwell.
That's the easy way, isn't it?
That's where I'm at this point. It's just score more goals than them, in all honesty.
Yep, 100%. I'm just trying to find something here, but I'm going to bring up some of these comments because there's some absolute gold going on in the comment section here. So, as we brought this one up, Robert Gibson saying MJ, West Brom legend. Guys are saying bring Fraser Forster on loan. Love it saying MJ worth more than O'Reilly shortly. Michael Ross is saying Wanyama. Mahesh with stuff here. Play a 4-4-2, 50% probability of Celtic dropping points. Steve McMonagle is saying CCV is playing on Sunday. Who's saying Santa Claus is available in December. So we've got them there. And then we'll bring up a couple of comments with lineups. So RL77 saying Hart, Ralston, Naroski, Scales, Taylor, McGregor, O'Reilly, Bernardo, Maeda, Kuhn, Lawwell, hat-trick. Boom. Don't say he'd love that. See his own name in lights. Yeah. So, and then we've got Andrew Galeas and Hart, Taylor, Kobayashi, Naroki, Ralston, Iwata, McGregor, Home, O'Reilly, Maeda, Kyogo. The only one missing is James McCarthy. Where's he?
It's time.
Yeah.
It's time.
Unleash the bench coat.
Do you think if Mark Lawwell scored a hat-trick, Peter would keep the ball and just say, look, you're not to be trusted with this yet, son. Once you're old enough, you'll get to keep this. Like, take the patch ball off and put it at home on the mantelpiece. I won that.
We'll deflate it because, it won't fit in his biscuit tin if it's full of air. Got to get something out of it. Yeah, for me, I'm just looking at it going, starting lineup will be, you guys have covered it. There's no point rattling through that. Matchups to watch out for. It's going to be the wingers on both sides here. They'll try to play wide. It's how we contain them with our fullbacks and how we attack going forward. Do we actually put crosses in the box that make it to our players or not? I think that's going to have the biggest factor on the game because If they can get on top wide, then it's going to draw our middle of the park out. Then they'll get on top in the middle of the park, and off we go. So it's a bit of a dangerous game for us. Score prediction, I said early on, we're going to win 2-1, and the winning goal is going to be an own goal by Motherwell. Dan, what do you reckon is your score prediction?
I'm going to say 2-0 to the good guys. And at least one of those goals will be scored in open play by Adam Ida.
Wow. You've really drunk the Kool-Aid, haven't you?
I'm going all in. I'm going all in. They gave me no one else to get behind, so
fair enough.
I'm all in.
Jared, what are you thinking?
I was going to go 2-0 as well, and I think there's going to be a score by Cool.
Willie?
And that's going to go.
Can't Willie, over to you,
I
mate.
think we'll win. I think we'll win quite comfortably. I think Motherwell's up and down form will sort of come back to haunt them. I know we've had some tough times at Fir Park over the last few seasons, but I actually think we'll win this one quite comfortably, and we'll all be super hyper happy guys again. Like so, 3-0, and Keel will open the scoring.
All right. So before we go to our final thoughts to wrap up the podcast, blame lies with you, Lawwell. I wanted to bring that picture up. That's a pretty nice one. And yet again, just shout out to my boy Zeke. Miss you, buddy. And yeah, go to our final thoughts. So Dan.
I knew you were going to come to me because I never prepare a final thought.
Fine, I'll go first then.
All right. Give me 2 whole minutes to think about it.
Okay. Final thought is I was going to say, so in the A-League, Melbourne Victory, a game was 90 minutes plus 7 minutes stoppage time, right? On the weekend. Oh, and it's on Tuesday. And Victory's the team I go for. Concede late on. And then they managed to score to equalise in the 95th minute. And then 2 minutes later, win it. Oh, before that, I was sitting on the couch going to my wife, Popper out, Rogers out. And I said to her, that's going to be my final thought on the podcast. And, Victory won. So I'm still going to say Popper out and Rogers out. And Lawwell out too. Dan, your final thoughts?
You mentioned A-League. We had this conversation earlier. 2 points. The Black Knights is a terrible name for a new A-League franchise. For the love of God, be the Knights if you want. Don't be the Black Knights. It's weird. I don't like it. It's really American. Second off, spoke to a good friend of mine, very much in the know. Jamie McLaren is definitely going to Auckland. So sit back and get ready. Know where you heard it first.
I've seen that in a few places over here, actually. Like he's on his way here.
I'm from the same hometown as McLaren, and yeah, that's the word on the street too. Jared, your final thought?
My final thought, I'm going to go. It's hard to get Scottish food over here. There's only 1 or 2 places you can buy it. And I don't know why, but I decided to look up how to make slice or Lorne sausage or whatever you want to call it, square sausage. And it's actually super easy. And so I made a whole kilo of it and I've had like 4 slices a day for the whole week. And I'm just like, why? Like, I can go to Sid's Pie Factory, like, that's in Brisbane, and you can buy it for like $60 a kilo. And then I just realized I can make it myself. It's so freaking easy. So, yeah, make some slice, and it's less fatty and bloody delicious.
Willie, final thought for the pod to you, mate.
As bad as we're feeling right now, we can't be as bad as, or we can't feel as bad or as embarrassed as fucking Michael Beale is. Like, burner accounts to bum yourself up, man. Come on, seriously.
There's nothing worse. Getting caught with the burner.
No, like, you know what I mean? It's like, you're an embarrassment. You were an embarrassment up here. We told the world you had a half-inch Punisher. Sunderland found that out quite quickly, and you're exposing it yourself again in public. Just disappear. Take some time out. Reflect on your life. You know what I mean?
Can we just point out that last comment from Kaiser there? Because Jared needs to see that.
What's hot? Cook. Brilliant. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. If you're looking for any of our Celtic Down Under pod merch, go to CelticDownUnder.com. It's all available on there. Until that, hopefully we pick up the 3 points on the weekend, and we'll be back on Monday with the pot noodle. Hail, hail, everyone.
Hail, hail.
Hell, hell.
Yeah.